Welcome back to the mat. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Close your eyes. Turn your attention inwards. Notice your breath. Long, slow breath deep into your belly. And even longer, slower breath out. Twice more. And to ground ourselves today, we'll open with 3 ohms. Exhale. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. Open your eyes, release your hands. Today we're visiting the 4th chakra, Anhata chakra. It's here just at our sternum, in the middle of our chest, and it's to do with love and connection. So at the moment in our lives, some of us might feel socially disconnected from folks because we're unable to go out and do all the things that we want to do. But this is only a physical disconnection, it's not a social disconnection. And we're never totally disconnected from each other because of our connection to our own hearts and to the love that's within our own hearts. We're then connected to the world, to the web of love, of relationships that exist in the world. And whilst this may not be showing up in a physical form, it is there, and all you have to do is just tap into it. Be aware that you are love, you are connected to love. And it's from this place of love that we work today to open our heart chakra. When we open our heart chakra, it expands our horizon for sharing this loving energy. So in our practice today, we will be coordinating our heartbeat with the rhythm of the universe. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Coordinating our heartbeat with the rhythm of the universe. We are devoting our practice today to love and compassion. So before we start, I'm going to read you one verse of a poem that's taken from The Wheels of Life by Anhata Judith. You are not alone. Your cries are echoed in 1,000 hearts the same. If you listen, you can hear them beating, 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 beating. Deep within each person, find the heart. Everywhere around you, find the heart. Deep within ourselves, we find the heart. Every time we touch the heart. So make your way onto your hands and knees. Moving into cat-cow, place your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. Exhale, round your back up and allow your head to drop. Knees hip width apart, feet hip width apart. Inhale, lift your head, look up and melt your heart towards your mat. Exhale, round up. Inhale, sink down. And keep that going, body following breath, exhaling, rounding up. Inhaling, sinking down. coming back to a neutral place and moving into Southpaw Tiger. So turn your wrists so that your fingers are pointing back towards your knees. Knees hip width apart. Inhale, lift your right leg up behind you, flex and point it, lift your head, look up. Melt your heart again. Press the heels of your hands into the floor, grip the floor with your fingertips. And release and switch to the other side. Stretch your right leg up behind you, flex and point it. And release. Our next pose is Tiger. So stretch your right arm out in front of you, your left leg out behind you. And turn your fingers so that your left fingers are pointing forward and no longer pointing behind. Stretch the tips of your fingers away from the tips of your toes. Lift your head and gaze straight ahead. And switch to the other side. Lift your left arm off the floor, lift your right leg off the floor. Flex and point it. And release. Walk your knees back one hand's pace, moving into down dog. Turn your toes under, lift your hips up. Hands wider than shoulders. Externally rotate your upper arms towards the front of the mat. Bring your dog for a walk. Open up your hips, bending one knee deeply and the other. Bring your attention to your heart beating, moving with the pulse of life. So the colour of the heart chakra is green, and see if you can visualize a green space in around your heart, a green light. And coming to a natural pause, focus on a spot between your thumbs. Turn your sit bones up, melt your heart. Float forward into plank, lift your head, look up, engage your core, squeeze your shins, your inner thighs together. Lower down into Chaturanga by floating your shoulders forward, come onto the tops of your toes, bend your elbows and lower down and hovering off the floor. You can also do that pose on your knees. I'll just demonstrate it. So you're here and you can just hold it like that. Keeping your knees on the floor. Come back onto your hands and knees. Moving into elevated bow. Reach your right hand to catch your right ankle, to lift your heel off the floor, to bring it into your hip. Lift your heel, your knee off the floor. So shift your weight onto your left hand, knee, your left foot. Bend your right knee, clasp your ankle, lift your chest, stretch your spine, kick your heel up and back. Open this heart chakra. Takes back bends as a practice. So there will be a number of back bends in this practice today. Gently release and switch to the other side. Shift your weight onto your right knee, right hand. Bend your left knee, clasp your left ankle. Kick your heel up and back. Use the leg to lift the leg. And release. We're going to repeat again, but this time bring your opposite hand to your opposite foot. So reach back with your right hand, lift your left ankle off the floor and lift your knee up. It will be and release, and again switch to the other side. So reach back with your left hand, clasp your ankle, lift your knee off the floor, kick your heel up and back. And release. And just notice all that's arising for you out of awareness right now. The sensations of your hands on the floor, your knees, your feet on the floor. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, and again the beating of your heart. Moving into Thunderbolt quad stretch. Walk your knees forward, turn your toes under, sit back in your heels. More doable, knees hip width apart, feet hip width apart. More difficult, knees and heels together. Inhale, lift your chest, stretch your spine and place your hands behind you on the floor. Lift your chest up. If you're unable to reach the floor, place your hand either on a book or on a block. Squeeze your heels together. Engage your core, broaden across your collarbones, lift the chest, lift your heart to the sky. Inhale, come back to centre. Moving from here to down dog, place your hands wider than shoulders, walk your knees back, turn your toes under, lift your hips up. Grip the floor with your fingertips, externally rotate your upper arms. Invite your hips to come even higher, invite your heels to come close to the floor. Looking at a spot between your fingertips. Melt your heart. Coming into reverse table, come and sit down with your legs out in front of you. Place your hands behind you, turn them out 45 degrees, walk them back 6 or 8 inches. Feet hip width apart. Inhale, press down with your feet, lift your hips up, float your hips up. Press down with your hands, grip the floor with your fingertips, externally rotate your upper arms, broaden across your collarbones, lift your hips even higher, press your feet into the floor, stretch your knees away from your shoulders, look at the ceiling. And release. Come to standing. Moving into Crescent Pose. Lift your arms overhead. Clasp your right biceps with your left hand. Root down firmly with the four corners of both feet into the floor. Squeeze your shins in. Squeeze your inner thighs. Move your hips to the right, your torso to the left. Be as sideways as possible. Notice your breathing. to centre and switch arms. Stretch your right arm up. Inhale, move your hips to the left, your torso to the right. Describing a nice crescent shape, but be careful not to collapse into the side that you're leaning in. Keep that also stretched. Move your ears back. Inhale, come back up to centre, arms by your side, close your eyes, turn in, notice all that's arising for you. Moving into power pose prep, lift your arms out in front of you, point palms towards each other. Invite the head of the shoulders back into the shoulder sockets. Keeping that, bend your knees, lower your hips, round your back, bring your forehead to your knees, stretch your arms out in front, arms, hands, shoulder width apart. Sit back in your throne. Inhale, come back to centre. Move to twisted lunge. I'm going to do it here in front of you instead of going to the end of the mat so that you can see what you're doing. So step your right foot forward, your left foot back. You might want to turn around in your mat. Bring your hands as if in prayer in front of you. Lift your chest, stretch your spine, and then cross your left elbow outside your right knee. Press elbow into knee, knee into elbow. Press top hand into bottom hand. Point top shoulder, top elbow at the ceiling. Look towards front foot. Stretch front heel away from, stretch back heel away from front knee. Invite your thumbs to line up with your sternum. Lower your hands to the floor and switch feet. Front foot back. Just going to move some stuff out of the way here. Back foot forward, torso upright. Hands to your heart and turn out over your left knee. Press elbow into knee, knee into elbow. Press top hand into bottom hand. Roll top shoulder back, ribs back. Line up your thumbs with your sternum. Stretch your front knee away from your back heel. Moving into power pose. Come and stand up. Bend your knees. Feet either hip width apart, more doable, more difficult. Feet together. Inhale, lift your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, sink down, gaze straight ahead, engage your core. Inhale, press down, stand up. Come into mountain, hands by your side. Close your eyes. Savour your breath. Our next pose is twisted power pose. Bring your hands together as if in prayer. Bend your knees. Bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. Press elbow into knee, knee into elbow. Roll left ribs back, left shoulder back. Endeavour to line up your thumbs with your sternum. Keep your hips in line with your knees. Sink back on your throne, look towards your toes. Inhale, press down, stand up. Close your eyes, take a moment. Notice the beating of your heart. Bring your hands together as if in prayer. Bend your knees And bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Press knee into elbow, elbow into knee. Press top hand into bottom hand. Roll top shoulder back, top ribs back. Endeavour to line up thumbs with sternum. Look towards your toes. And then just check to see if your hips are swung off to one side. And see, can you begin to keep them in line. Inhale, press down, stand up. For our next pose, we'll move to Revolt Lunge. Walk to the back of your mat. Lift your arms up overhead. Take a big step forward with attitude and intention with your right foot. Bend your front knee, sink down. Lower your left hand to the floor. Lift your right arm up. Roll your ribs back, your shoulder back. Lift your chest up, look up. Present your heart to the sky. Stretch your front knee away from your back heel. Release your hand to the floor. Move front foot back. Move through down dog. Move back left foot forward. Place your weight on your right hand and roll your left arm up and look up. Lift your chest. Stretch your front knee away from your back heel. And release. Our next pose is monkey lunge. So switch feet again. Front foot back. Through down dog. Right foot forward, line with fingernails with toes. Allow back knee to come to floor. Lift torso upright. And then reach back with your left hand and clasp your left ankle and bring your heel into your buttock. You may need a strap to do this either. Then you can walk your front foot forward a little bit. Lift your chest up, look up. Bring your heel to your buttock. Broaden across your collarbones, lift your heart up. And switch through to the other side. Step your left foot forward. Allow back knee to come to floor. Bend back knee, reach back with right hand. Bring right ankle into buttock. Lift your chest, stretch your spine. Place your left hand on top of your left knee. And then move your hips forward and down. Look up, broaden across your collarbones. Raise your heart to the universe. Connecting deeply with everything that's out there. And with the internal love that's always there. And release. Make your way onto your belly. Stretch your legs out behind you. Arms by your sides. Moving into Cobra. Squeeze your heels together. Arms, place your hands round about halfway down your ribs so that your forearm is vertical. Lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Come through the gateway of your arms. Lift your torso up. Squeeze your heels together. Keep a slight bend in your elbows. Lift your heart. Flare your toes. Tighten your glutes. Move your ears back. And release to the floor. Moving to Locust 2, Salabhasana. Place your arms by your sides, turn your palms up. Squeeze your heels together. Inhale, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Lift your arms up as high as you can. Turn your thumbs up, squeeze your heels together, move your ears back. And release. And bring the right side of your face to the floor and just rest. Turn your palms up, arms by your sides. Allow your heels to drift out. Receive your breath. Our next upper back bend is crocodile. Clasp your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers, lift your head and shoulders off the floor, lift your legs off the floor, squeeze your heels together, lift your gaze. And release, and bring the other side of your face to the floor and rest. Topsy-turvy superhero. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Lift your right arm and the opposite leg off the floor. Point your palms towards each other. The foot that's on the floor, flare your toes. Press the toes into the floor, lift that knee off the floor. The side of the hand, the left hand that's on the floor, keep that engaged and lift the elbow off the floor. And switch sides. Lift your left arm and your right leg off the floor. Flex and point. Lift your right elbow off the floor, keeping the outside edge of your right hand on the floor. And the foot that's on the floor, flare the toes and make sure the knee is off the floor. Active, more difficult. From here, move to pigeon. Come onto your hands and knees. And then move your right knee forward and park it behind your right wrist. And invite your front foot to come forward. Walk your back leg back behind you. Turn the top of your foot to the floor, flare your toes. Lower down onto your elbows. Press the top of your back foot into the floor, lift your knee off the floor. Press the outside edge of your front foot into the floor, slightly lift your front ankle off the floor. And switch to the other leg, through down dog. Turn your toes under, lift your hips up. Stretch your left knee forward, park it to the outside of your left wrist. Walk your right leg back behind you, lower down onto your elbows. Clasp your hands together. Press the top of your back foot into the floor, flare your toes. Press the outside edge of your front foot into the floor, slightly lift your front ankle off the floor. Soften your heart. And make your way into pigeon quad stretch. So come onto your hands and knees once more. And again, move your right knee forward to the outside of your right wrist. walk your back leg back, and then bend your back knee and reach back with your left hand and bring your ankle, your heel towards your hip. Then pivot your hand on top of your foot so that your fingers are pointing forward, or simply hold your ankle. And then place your right hand on top of your right thigh, lift your chest, stretch your spine. And release to the floor. And switch through down dog. And step your left knee forward. Lower down. Bend your right knee. Reach back with your right hand. Clasp your ankle. Bring your heel into your hip. And if it's available to you, pivot your hands so that your fingers are pointing forward. Point your elbows at the ceiling. Left hand either on the floor or on your thigh. Stretch your spine. Lift your chest. Broaden across your collarbones. Look up. And release. And move to half frog. Stretch your legs up behind you and lower gently to the floor. And bring your left forearm across the front of your body and come up onto your, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Then bend your right knee and reach back with your right hand and clasp your foot. We've already done this in pigeon quad stretch. Pivot your hand on top of your toes, turn your fingers towards the front of the mat. Come up onto your elbows, lift your chest, stretch your spine. Press the top of the left foot into the floor, flare your toes, lift your left knee off the floor. And release and switch to the other side. Place your right elbow on the floor, bend your left knee, reach back with your left hand, clasp your toes, turn your fingers so they're pointed forward. If it's available to you, you may only be holding your ankle. Lift your chest, stretch your spine, press the top of the right foot into the floor, lift your knee off the floor. And release that. And just place your hands under your head and take a rest. Tops of your feet on the floor. Allow your heels to drop out. Moving into bow pose, down your asana. Bend your knees, bring your heels into your hips, clasp your ankles, squeeze your knees together, kick your heels up and back. Use your legs to lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Move your ears back. And then holding your feet, you're going to roll onto your right side. So sideways bow pose. Kick your heels away from you. Move your ears back towards your toes. Release and then roll all the way through over onto the other side. Sometimes I have to push myself with my hand. Kick your heels away from you. Move your ears back. Come back to center. Release your legs and make your way to sitting up. That brings to an end some of the bigger back bends. So moving into both big toe pose. Bend your knees, clasp both big toes with the first two fingers of each hands, and then walk your heels in a little bit and lean back. Lift your right leg off the floor, lift your left leg off the floor. More doable, knees bent. More doable, legs apart. More difficult, legs straight and legs together. Lift your head, look up. Press the backs of your knees away from you. And release. From here we move into reclined, intense west stretch. So come and lie down on your back. Bend your knees. Clasp the outside edges of your feet with your hands. Stretch your feet up towards the ceiling. Squeeze your inner thighs together, your inner shins. Invite your toes to come down towards your head. Press the backs of your knees up towards the ceiling. Soften your elbows. Press your lower back into the floor. And from here, moving into reclined child's pose, just bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little bit of a roll about there, massaging your spine from side to side, feeling how good that feels. And come and sit up. And you know, a minute ago when I said that was the end of the big back bends, well actually that's not quite true. There's one more, Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward bow. So yogi's choice in this, you can either do lie down and take a bridge pose or take upward bow, whatever feels right for you today, whatever you feel you're up to. Okay, so come and lie down on your back, place your feet hip width apart on the floor. Place your hands and turn your fingers, place your hands wider than your shoulders and turn your fingers back towards your feet. And keeping that, press down with your hands into the floor and lift your hips off the floor and and come onto your head or push all the way up. So whatever feels good for you today. So inhale, press down, lift up. And gently release and come all the way down. Move your feet out to the long edges of the mat and allow your knees to drift in towards each other. Place the palms of your hands on your lower abdomen. Point your index fingers towards your pubic bone. Point your thumbs towards your navel and just rest. Move to gatekeeper, kneel up straight, feet either hip width apart, knees either hip width apart or together. Stretch your right leg out to the side and point your toes towards the short end of your mat. See if invite your heel to bisect your shin. Inhale, lift your arms up, clasp your hands together, point your index fingers and describe a lovely crescent towards your right foot. Inhale, come back up to centre and switch to the other side. Stretch your left leg out, point your toes towards the short end of the mat, the middle of the short end of the mat. Lift your arms up. Inhale, clasp your hands together, point your index finger and be as sideways as possible over your left leg. Inhale and come back up to centre. Moving into side plank, make your way onto your hands and knees. Turn your toes under, lift your hips up, move through down dog, pivot your ankles to the right, stack your left ankle on top of your right ankle, lift your top arm up. And then moving into wild thing, step your left leg behind you, lift your chest up, look up. Come back through down dog, switch to the other side. Place your hand in the middle of the mat, pivot your ankles to the left, stack your right ankle on top of your left ankle, bring the sole of your left foot towards the floor, lift your top arm up. And then moving into wild thing, place your right hand and your right foot on the floor behind you, lift your chest, allow your head to drop. Inhale, come back to centre. And come into child's pose. Sit back in your heels, bring your head to the floor, arms by your sides, turn your palms up and release yourself into the ground. Now we move into Tibetan Weaponry 2, Ekapada Supta Virasana. Come and lie on your backs. Bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest. Clasp your right ankle with your right hand. Clasp the outside of your left foot with your left hand. Roll over onto your left hip. Stretch your left leg out. And then invite your right knee to come to the floor. Bring your right heel towards your right hip. Keeping that, endeavour to bring your shoulders to the floor and then look back away from your outstretched left foot. Make both feet active. And release and switch to the other side. Both knees together. Clasp the outside edge of your right foot and and bring your left hand across the top of your left foot. Roll over onto your right hip and stretch your right leg out. Bend your left knee, bring your heel to your hip. Invite your shoulders onto the floor and then look away from your outstretched right leg. Look back behind you. Make both feet active. And release. We'll move into double diamond. Bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips, then walk your feet out to the long edges of the mat. Allow your knees to come down to the right hand side. Lift your arms and place them behind you as if in goalpost arms. Turn your palms up. Look away from your knees while lifting your head off the floor, turning it and setting the side of your head back down on the floor. and switch to the other side. Knees back to centre and allow them to go all the way over and down. And then lift your head again, turn it and place it and look away from your knees. Allow gravity to take you down. Inhale back to centre. Moving into Supine Twist, stretch your right leg out. Lift your left foot, cross it over your right leg and bring your inner right knee to the floor. Stretch your left arm up behind you, look behind you. Invite your shoulders onto the floor. Inhale, come back to centre and switch to the other side. Stretch your left leg out. Lift your right foot, cross over your left leg, bring your left knee to the floor. And then stretch your right arm up behind you, invite your shoulders to come onto the floor. Look behind you, back towards your right hand arm. Inhale, come back to centre. And coming into Reclined Child's Pose, bend both knees, bring your heels into your hips, bring your knees into your chest, and just give yourself the most delicious, loving hug that comes from your heart and connects with the hearts of everyone, everywhere. And now make your way into relaxation. You might like to cover yourself with a blanket. You might like to put an eye pillow on. And we're going to be here for the next 5 minutes. deepen your breathing. Bring your attention back into your body and onto the mat. In your own time, bend your knees, roll to one side, and just pause for a moment. Place your hands on the floor and push yourself up to sitting. Before we complete, I'll read you a little bit more of this poem that we opened the practice with. Each onto the dance of love that joins the earth 2 worlds above, and joins ourselves onto each other, each one seen as sister, brother. Within our hearts the seeds of peace lie awaiting sweet release. Upon the winds of change they fly, and deep within our hearts we cry, Anhata, 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 Anhata. The sound of love. Bring your hands together, close your eyes. To honour ourselves, each other, and the practice of the heart, we close with one Om. Exhale, inhale. Om. Thanks for practicing, thanks for coming to practice, and see you on the mat.